Hello, everyone, and welcome to Conversations with Elise Quevedo. Today, I am back with a sports industry executive, entrepreneur, and investor, Daniel Bernard. Hi, Daniel. Great to see you again. How are you today?
I am great. What a great privilege it is to be invited back to have another conversation with you. Something must have gone right the first time, I think.
I know, right? Because, Daniel, the last time we jumped in a chat, we had so much fun that we did say we would be back for more. And ta-da, here we are. The one thing that we didn't know, though, is what would the next topic be? And for everyone listening, for those who don't know Daniel, let me tell you something. He's an individual that is extremely insightful and inspiring in the business world, but he also has powerful views when it comes to life topics. And a few days ago, we were discussing what our next topic would be. And at first, Elise put in her head, and I thought maybe we should go the technology or the business way to highlight more of the business side of Daniel. But then not only did I realize that he already has many videos talking on those subjects, but even Daniel said he wanted to discuss a life topic. So our topic today is, what does it mean to be successful? And Daniel, like a sign from the universe, today I wake up to a notification to a post from you on LinkedIn where you wrote about when you got back from one of your cycles. And I thought it was perfect for our topic today, because you started your post by saying, what was it? The only relevant comparison we can make is with yourself and against your own goals in life. And this is something that I also write and post about multiple times a year, and it has a parallel with the same as what does it mean to be successful, because it is down to each individual. So let's kick off with this. First of all, Daniel, please share more of this cycle ride you did, which was a success because it inspired you to write a great, positive, full of energy and thoughts post, which you got a lot of feedback on.
Well, thank you. First of all, thank you for reading my posts and for commenting and for even bringing it up here. I really appreciate it, Elise, as always. I mean, this is a sentiment that I have thought about for a long time as well. It's not a new thing for me, and it's not a new thing generally, not comparing with yourself. But I think being able, not compared to others other than to yourself, a lot of people talk about this. I didn't invent anything new here. But being able to understand that, especially if you're young and you're in your 20s trying to climb somewhere, whether it's a professional ladder or a personal ladder or whatever it is, it's an important, I think, a really, really important message to try and embrace fully, because otherwise it's so easy to get into that trap of comparing yourself to other people. We all do it, of course. What I found interesting was one of the comments I got was from a guy who used to work with me 10 years ago. And I completely forgot. He told me that I had mentioned this in a company speech once, this same sentiment. And he reminded me, first of all, I was amazed that he remembered something that I said about 10 years ago, but he reminded me that it came off the back of me doing one of these 10-kilometer or half marathon runs. I didn't do the half marathon, I did the 10 kilometers. I don't have the mental stamina to actually do anything more than 10K. But the point is that when you are in one of these events, and this was the Tel Aviv Marathon, when you're in one of these events, it really brings home how the only comparison is against yourself and what you're trying to achieve. So if I started that 10K, or if someone's starting the marathon, are they really comparing themselves to, let's say, the obese man who finishes a marathon in 5 hours? How can you say he's lost? Obviously he hasn't. Has he lost to the winner who finishes in 2.5 hours? Of course he hasn't lost to that person, because he's only fighting his own goals in life. And if he's finished a marathon in 5 hours, he never did sport before in his life, that's incredible success. And the guy who's overcome it, I've seen one of the most inspiring things when you see blind runners running marathon or long distance. It's incredible. So you look around you, and these events are amazing to teach this principle, because you realize that no one, apart from those lead runners who are actually trying to get on the podium, no one is running against anyone else other than themselves and what they've set themselves. So this is a beautiful thing to direct ourselves in life. is that's the only relevant comparison, and it's so pure. So why then, when we go back, do we compare ourselves always, and the grass is always greener, etc., etc.? Because these negative experiences and emotions can come out of it. If I look at someone else and go, oh, I earn more than him, or I'm better than him in some way, or whatever. So is that good? Makes you a bit arrogant. You think you're better than other people. You're not. And similarly, if you think you're worse than other people, you get embittered. You're not. And both sides are bad. So this was the sentiment that just reminded me again, because I cycle it. I came back thinking, oh, that was fast. And of course, it's not fast if you compare it to, semi-pros or professional cyclists. I'm ridiculously slow, but it's an irrelevant comparison. I felt it was fast. It was good for me, did me well. That's the only thing that's important. So, leading into the question of how do we define success, that's a very individual thing. And I think there's a nice bridge there. And I hadn't thought of it before you said it this morning. And so thank you very much.
Because it's true. And you've just mentioned the whole part of you can either be bitter or you can actually feel really good. And reminds me to something I learned many years ago when one of my mentors said to me, Elise, always remember this, to the right of you, you're always going to have people that you personally aspire to be. The people that you go, oh, they're more successful than me. In my industry, they're better. As you said, they have more money, they have better things, they have more speaking gigs, they have more people that they talk to. But on the other hand, on the left, we're always going to have people that look up to us. And you don't have to be bitter when you're on the other side, because even when you think there is somebody better, there will always be someone on the other side behind you or on the left, however you want to look at that, that says, wow, I wish I could be like them. Because it's exactly that, Daniel, because talking about the word success itself, as you mentioned, the same as comparing, don't compare yourself to others. So to you, what does it mean to be successful?
Okay, so I mean, this is a huge question. Obviously, people often ask this, and as I say, it is very individual. For me, having gone through the stuff that I've gone through in my life, and it's very easy. They want to put this into perspective. When people say it's not money, money is not the important thing in life. I believe it's not, but it's much easier to be a person who has money to say that. Okay, it's very easy to say, oh, please don't think money's the be all and end all. If you've got money, very easy to say these things, yeah. And if you're struggling to pay your bills, it's hard to hear that. So, let's just keep it in proportion. People who have money and have had a financial success in life, keep in mind that when you say things like this, it's not easy for people to hear who can't pay their gas bills. So, everything's in a very individual status and context, of course. For me, though, it has to be well beyond that, that I've learned. And it doesn't matter what your individual definition is. I believe that you've got to do things in life that drive you, that give you energy. When I see a lot of people who get up in the morning and they're like, oh, another day. Okay. Now, I can't judge those people, but all I can say is factually, life is not invigorating for them. Okay. And that is a shame. So I believe that leads me to my definition of success, that if you can wake up most days, okay, all days is a little bit optimistic and unrealistic, but if you can wake up most days feeling invigorated, energized, and happy to face the challenges that you have on your plate that day, that's my definition of success. Because the base understanding from this is that life is inherently difficult. And if you acknowledge that life is not supposed to be this easy ride, and that it's going to be a series of challenges, then let's try and create a life where we are facing challenges we want to cope with. And so the basis is, don't expect life to be easy. I think anyone who expects life to be easy, they're always going to get up thinking, oh, I've got this to do today, that to do today, and they're facing life in a way that's not accepting those challenges. Do you see what I mean? Does that make sense?
Absolutely, Daniel. And I do love the part where you said most days, not every day. And I swear we're so in sync here, because this is the stuff everyone that has watched my videos or that knows me for longer, they absolutely know this. I say the exact same thing. No matter how positive you are, how much attitude you have, it is impossible to not wake up some days and also feel bad about where you are, have a Monday blue, But as you said, it's not about every day. It's about if most days you can wake up and then find something. For example, let's think about the pandemic. We are in an unprecedented, historic kind of couple of years where we're running into year 3 now, very soon, where the mind shift
Unbelievable.
of the mind has changed. And what does success mean when a lot of people have lost their houses, their jobs? And every morning, because I come from a personal development background, I give thanks. And I don't share this with everybody because some people laugh at me or they say, so I always know I'm very careful as to who to tell it to, but every morning and every night I give thanks. And thanks not for monetary things. I give thanks for the basics of I wake up and I have a roof to sleep under. I wake up and I open my eyes and I wake up and I have food on my table. And for me, that alone is a basic success of basic life. Other people will go, well, that's basic. And that is, that doesn't count. That's not success. But again, that's the point. What is success? That's what I start with, because that is more of a gratitude sort of success. And then, of course, then you aim for everything else, your job, your clients, your environment, whatever it is. But you have to wake up and say, yeah, I'm thankful that I'm here on this planet, regardless of what's going on, because there are many, many people that are definitely in a worse space. And the bottom line is that, Daniel, not one person can achieve all. We know this, regardless of who you are. Not everybody wants the same. As you said, success is a very individual thing. As you just mentioned just recently, and success from my perspective comes in different ones, depending on how old you are and our experiences in life. Back over, I would say 15 years ago, I worked at a very big airport. And I remember I worked for Pret a Manger. I was in the admin area, and I wanted to interview the owner, one of the co-founders. His name was Julian Metcalf. And at the time, I didn't have entrepreneurial experience. I was doing many other things in life, but I was writing my first book, which was on personal development. And I wanted success stories and legends on my book. And I wanted to mix the big successful ones. And I wrote about Richard Branson, and then I wrote about Julian Metcalf. And I met Julian, even though people said, he will never give you time for you, Elise. You're too little. You're nobody in his organization. And I was like, but if I ask, how do I know that I won't get an interview with him? And I remember going to the headquarters and sending an email. And guess what? I got an interview. I sat down with Julian Metcalf in my mid-20s. I was so proud of myself. And this individual, who many people would think, oh, he's living a life, he's traveling the world, he won't have time for a little person working at an airport. And he gave me about 45 minutes of his time, gave me a tour himself of the offices, then sat me down and he says, what do you want to ask? And I literally was shaking in my boots, and I've got my little paper, like, well, Julian, I want to know. And then within 5 minutes, we were joking and I featured him. But if I had listened to other people that were telling me, Elise, you're not good enough to ask somebody that is more successful than you, what chance would I have had if I had believed them? Something has to come, no matter what anyone says, it has to come from you. Isn't that right, Daniel? You have to have something inside that fights against the odds of your surroundings, because you already have a no in life if you don't ask. Am I right or am I wrong here?
Yeah, but it's complex a little bit, I would say, because we are influenced by our surroundings, all of us, as you know, even in people. And when people have this strong inner spirit, often it's because it's a combination of something that's innate in them, but something that is also been nurtured because they've been surrounded by people who have helped grow that strong inner spirit. Okay, I really believe in that. I think that it's impossible. I really believe it's impossible to be a fully strong person that you haven't been able to suck that in from your surroundings, from good people around you. So whilst you're saying you have to fight the naysayers off, I'm sure that there have been people in your life who have been there to help create that strong, positive vibe that is Elise Quevedo, that enabled her to meet Julian Metcalf back in those days, and to realize the truth that even Julian Metcalf was once a little boy who was aspiring to some stuff, just like we all are. And then he became, partly through his own skill and dedication, partly through luck, partly through circumstance, etc., Julian Metcalf. And your story demonstrates how he still knows that, which is a beautiful thing. Okay, a lot of leaders lose sight of this. They think it's all about them. It's not. But that's a whole different story that we'll talk about probably in another conversation. But I think that what you're saying is absolutely correct. It's being able to adjust the way we accept what is going on around us. And there will always be people who try and knock us down, that's for sure. It's trying to be alert to that, because and what we get impacted by and what we don't get impacted by, and that takes time. That's not you can't tell a 20-year-old to do this and they'll do it. It takes time, for all of us. I feel like I'm still learning, sometimes to ignore that and take from that and learn from these people and don't learn from those people. We learn every single day. But I wanted to refer to something you said before, because I found it interesting. If we don't have those downs, those Monday blues, and this is an important part, I think, to realize, then we're never going to be fully able to enjoy the ups. Human beings, I've learned, will get used to anything, and literally anything. So most people would say, wow, look at that multi-millionaire, he's got so much money. That multi-millionaire will look at a multi-billionaire and go, wow, look at that guy, he's got so much money. Because you are your standard, okay? If someone lives on a yacht every single day of their lives, that's their standard. It's not special anymore. And there's a problem when your standard should be appreciated as something that's actually special, but it's not anymore because it's just your standard. So hang on, what's special? And you said something beautiful, that our basics, getting up in the morning, having a roof over our head, why is that our standard? Why is that not special? That should be special, because not everyone has that also. People who say to you, but that's basic, it's because they take it for granted because, well, we all have that. When we say we all have that, that's just our surroundings. There's a lot of people who don't have that. So it's understanding that even our standard is actually special, and I'm privileged to be where I am as my standard. That will allow me to really enjoy the ups, whilst I'm also enjoying where I am at the moment and what I've got. So that gratitude is the basis for everything, I think, absolutely. And that people talk about it as a gratitude, gratitude, gratitude. Yeah, sure. But again, you can hear this as a young person. Actually implementing it, I think, is easier if you realize that anything you do in life, if you start earning 100 grand a month, yeah, that will become your standard if you do it long enough. And then it's just my standard. If I earn now 90 grand a month, yeah, well, I'm not earning enough. Sounds crazy when you say it like that, doesn't it? But
absolutely,
you get used to your standard. Yeah.
You are so spot on, Daniel, and it's exactly what you've said. And I want to revert back to when you said, oh, when you got to Julian Metcalf, it's because also you had other people. And then I had a flashback to if this had happened 9 years prior. So the interview with Metcalf was, oh my God, 2008. Gosh, like 13 years ago. If that had happened 9 years before, and I'm going to say why, I would have never done it. Because 9 years before, in my late teens, early 20s, I wanted to get into network marketing. And the whole environment said, don't do it. That's a scam. Don't do it. There was all this negativity, but something inside me said, oh, you should try. But I didn't because of the people around me. And then I came across opportunities throughout the years and I said, I really want to do that, but everyone says no. And I didn't do it a second time. Then a third time I did it. So 3 years prior to interviewing Metcalf is when I got into true personal development, having people around me and mentors that said, Elise, you already have a no by not asking. So if you already have a no, does it matter that you ask and somebody tells you no? If you don't ask, how can it be turned into a yes? And that's when my thinking started shifting. I'm very grateful that throughout any bad experiences that I've had, just like you said, if we don't have bad, how can we truly appreciate good? If we don't come across horrible people that do bad things to us, how can we appreciate the good people? Because otherwise, it's what you said. You take it for granted. And what I see sometimes is people feel entitled. Let's take whether it's a partnership, and of course, I mean, this is now a whole other topic that we can talk to in the future, but entitlement of partnerships, whether it is a wife, a husband, a boyfriend, a business partner, a friendship, entitlement that just because you should be doing this. No, 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 don't get it twisted. Nobody is entitled to something.
Yeah.
And
Well,
these all these things. So, but again, this is why this topic of success this is just part one, by the way, guys. Like me and Daniel, I'm sure we're gonna come back to this. Otherwise, this video is gonna last about 10 hours. So that's why this is so right. You're spot on. And the younger generation, not everyone had the same growing up. You mentioned it as well. It's very easy for the people with money to say it's not about money. We live in a society where if you don't pay for your rent, you get kicked out. If you don't buy food, you don't eat. These are the facts of life. And Daniel, something else you do that not everyone may know is that you take a group of young teenagers, young women, if I remember correctly, every year, and you coach them, you encourage them to be at a school, you listen to them, and you give them a workshop. And I love this because just as we've just spoken, not everyone has the right support growing up and get an understanding of what success may look like or what can that mean to them. So tell us, Daniel, what would you want any teenager, because you also have grown-up kids, what would you want any teenager to understand about the importance of the right mindset and understanding what being successful should mean at any age? Because we do live in that world that is still too superficial, that is still too attached to money or fame only equals success, nothing else.
So, I mean, there's so many things to address here. I mean, one of the biggest ills, as well as you and I've spoken about this before, is social media can really exaggerate the negative impact. You know, everyone's got these beautifully curated profiles and whatever. I mean, take me. You woke up to this picture of me having done my bike with these fantastic things, and like, you know, I have my bad days. Yeah, I have days where I like feel crap, and people need to know that, because I think if you look at any profile on any social media, and I'm only on LinkedIn deliberately because I just everything else just is a bit too much for me, and it's a waste of my time. But and I know I'm saying this and you're probably going to post this on Twitter, but anyway, I just don't have time for anything else. But it's so easy if you're young to just look at other people's profiles and think, oh my God, look how successful they are, coming back to the whole comparison thing. No one's as successful as their profile looks like, okay? No one. It's just an illusion. Let's put that aside, separate conversation, okay? But for young people, and like you know, telling everyone my secrets today, you know, so that group of teenagers that I try and assist every now and then, I started a conversation with them, and I wrote on the board, life is difficult. And I said, how does that make you feel? And I went around the room and they were like, oh, it's a bit depressing. You know, it sounds a bit negative. You know, they were a bit strange that that's the sort of way I would open, because they know me as a very positive person. And I said to them, okay, what if I told you that I think this is one of the most positive statements you can ever embrace in life? Because once you realize that life is difficult and it's not supposed to be a cakewalk, that's when you can truly build what success looks like to you. And I gave them the example, and I'll give it here, that let's think about the opposite of that, where life's easy. Okay, so what do we think about when life's easy? Let's put a visual on it. We're sitting on a beach in Thailand. Yeah, we're getting cocktails served to us, beautiful, tranquil, turquoise waters in front of us. Life is easy, isn't it? That's fine as an escape every now and then. It doesn't have to be an escape. It could just be a high every now and then. But I guarantee, absolutely guarantee, if that's your life every single day, and you have nothing to deal with, nothing to cope with, no problems, because we've taken away all the challenges from life. People are there to serve us. We can go in the water if we want. We can sit on the beach if we want to do it. If we have no challenges whatsoever, then I guarantee sooner rather than later, those turquoise waters will become a prison. They will become standard. They will become grey in many, many ways. you won't appreciate the person who's serving you that cocktail because, well, it's there all the time, isn't it? It's just basic. Life being easy with no challenges becomes a life that is insignificant. And I think that we have to find significance in our lives in order to find that success. So if we understand that without challenges, we're not going to find significance, then hang on. The statement life is difficult becomes a hugely positive statement. And it means, okay, if I expect life to be difficult and I know it's going to be good for me, bring it on, come on. Difficulty come? Oh, fantastic to see you. I've been waiting for you. Lovely. What's difficult today? What's challenging today? Let's do this. It's a different mindset because I realized that through the difficulty and through overcoming challenges, I reach significance. And I've just used that word twice. That is success for me anyway, an individual thing is we feel that we're achieving something. What is it we want to achieve? Totally individual. But if you feel you're achieving something beyond material needs, which are very important in this life, as you said, that's where you feel a little bit successful. That's where inside you feel more energized. And then it becomes an increasing cycle upwards, is that you can energize yourself more and more, you can energize others, and you can create impact for yourself and for others. Anyway, long answer to a short question.
No, this is what I enjoy about having our chats, Daniel. And of course, we have chats behind the scenes. And this is what inspires us to then jump on a video to share this with the world. Because I also learned that from back in my early 20s, I didn't have big mentors at the time. YouTube didn't exist as it does now on social media. But now, if you don't have support, the beauty of it is that a lot of people are connected. Find mentors online. Even if you have $0, this is why we do videos like this, so that they are accessible to anybody. Whether you're a teenager, in a business, you're an entrepreneur, it doesn't matter who you are. We all have bad days and we all need reminders that tells us success is what you want and what you make out of it, regardless of what anyone tells you. But don't think that this is a life of roses, and just because you think you're going to be successful, that you're not going to have people against you, because you will. But it's about what you said, navigating the waters and just getting through to be able to appreciate and be grateful. And following up on the question of, in regards to money and fame equals success, let's talk now about when we're now on adult form and we're truly getting into the environment where this is where I believe a lot of the people kind of, instead of going up on dreams and goals, they go the other way around. When we're meant to go into the workforce or get into these next stages of life, we should be able to then have, I wouldn't say just more opportunities, but have a more open mind, because we've seen most of the world. But sometimes it's the other way around. This is where you compare yourself to people more, regardless of where you are, because think about cycling. Is Daniel going to be running the Tour de France? Probably not, but he could. He would probably be the person that ends last, maybe, or second to last on a Tour de France, because that's not his career. Could he do it? Absolutely. But yeah, I'm sorry, but yeah, but this is not.
Thank you for your belief.
But would you be number one for you? Yeah, because then think about the other way. You cannot compare, as you said, athletes that cycle 100 kilometers a day training, and now compare yourself to toddlers. Would you win against the toddlers? Right? I mean, this is not for everybody, not just Daniel. But this is where we have to put on our mind is stop comparing to the people around you that have different goals. Think about, if you're a street cleaner, be the best street cleaner in the world, because at that moment, that's what you're doing. If you want to own a restaurant, then be the best restaurant owner locally, or aim to be for the region or the county. It doesn't matter what it is, but stop comparing. So Daniel, how do you think we can shift so that people stop comparing themselves to others and truly embark, let's call it a journey of self-discovery, understanding what makes us or someone happy, which in turn means success to oneself? Do I make sense there?
Wow, absolutely. So I think that there are no shortcuts. I think that it takes time to really understand what makes you tick. Okay. And the older we get, the more experience, as long as we're gathering experience. If I know people who are mid-40s who have had no experience and they haven't grown up mentally at all. So this leads me to what I think is so important, is being active all the time. How do we find out what's good for us, who we want to actually be? You know, to find the things that, you know, we first of all have to say, what sort of human being do I want to be? Let's try and address that first. Then we say, well, okay, what are my goals to be able to be that human being? And then, well, what are the actions that I need to take? So like a project plan about my life. Now, you can't do that really until you've understood a little bit more about yourself. So how do you understand more about yourself? Go out there, do things. The biggest sin, I think, if you're a teenager or 20-year-old, mid-20s, well, you know what? Any age is in inactivity. If you're sitting there wondering what you're about and what you want to do in life and how you're going to make a success of yourself in any way, shape, or form, and you're sitting there thinking about it, do not expect to have any answers in 2 years from now, 4 years from now, 6 years from now, if you actually do nothing. Sometimes you have to just put yourself out there, and then by having an experience as a waiter when you're younger, having an experience as a cleaner, having an experience as a telephone operator. By the way, I was all those three, that's why they came to my mind. They teach you things about yourself, okay? And you understand who you are through that journey. And it doesn't come overnight, no shortcuts. You need to go through a process with yourself, years, before you really understand. And it's a constant evolution. So at some stage you think, I've understood enough about myself to start saying, I know I want to be this sort of person. And to be that, I know that I want to own a restaurant because I've understood that industry and I'm good at it. That's when you can then be the best restaurateur, as you said. And then trying to think logically about that. How do I go about learning and becoming the best restaurateur around? I can put that out in front of me for, you know, the next year, the next 2 years, etc. But it's learning about yourself first through doing. Inactivity is the greatest sin. Do stuff, put yourself out there, go here, go there, meet people. That's life. That's how you see the other opportunities that we would not see if we sit down. I know, unfortunately, too many hugely intelligent people who refuse to move forward, refuse to act, refuse to do. And it could be because they're lazy, okay, which is terrible. It could be because they're scared, which is a shame, okay? But either way, they're not doing stuff. And only by doing stuff do you understand. I often tell people that people say, oh, wow, look at you, you're 20 years in the sports industry, fantastic. How did you plan that out? I didn't plan it out. I can only tell you, looking back, that in 2001, I met this guy who gave me this job as an entry level, and then that led me to something else a couple of years later. Then that led me to 2004 to setting up my own sports data business. That led me to, you can map it out backwards. You can't map it out forwards. It just makes no sense. So, and if I look back, the biggest asset I think I've ever had is I'm not worried about uncertainty. Now that's just who I am. I'm just very, very lucky from that point of view. So I just go and do stuff. And so that I'm very, very grateful for, because I go and do stuff, I learn stuff about myself, about other stuff. And 20 years later, people tend to think, people seem to think I'm something. 20 years in the sports industry, I seem to know a thing or two. I do about that particular area, not much about anything else, but it's only because you do things. And I know that I'm still only in the middle of my journey. I've got a lot of things to learn going forward. And I look forward to finding out what that is through action.
The key word, action. Hashtag do stuff by Daniel.
Good branding, good branding.
Doesn't literally have to be anything, just do stuff. But can you believe now, Daniel, how this is what I love about our conversations, basic stuff that actually works because it's true.
Yeah.
We don't know your stuff. We know our stuff. As Elise, as Daniel, we know our stuff, what we want, how we've done it. We don't know, I'm sorry, but we don't know shit about you and about your stuff.
Exactly.
Blunt, and I'm sorry, I don't swear normally, but this is what it's about, everyone. Just go out there and, as Daniel said, hashtag do stuff. Just do it. Like Nike
I
says,
feel like I feel like I've stolen it from Nike there. That, I mean, they have one of the best hashtags. I do want to give credit to the genius of Nike. Just do it. I mean, it's just true, but
but
it's
it
simple.
is.
It really is. You know.
Exactly. Talk, action, not just talk, not just think. And this is maybe when I was back in my early 20s, I was very grateful to come across path with one of my first mentors, which her name was Lisa Jimenez. Hello, Lisa, you're amazing. You definitely were a shift in my life. And she wrote a book called Conquer Fear. And within that book, that's when I learned that a lot of people do things because of fear of not the fear itself, but fear of success, fear of failing at something. And that's why sometimes, yes, sometimes people are lazy and they just talk and it's just talking and they will never change. But other people do want to change, but they have this fear inside because since we're little, when I wrote my first book, I wrote about this, that as children, we're installed this, no, don't do it, no. But we're not given a logical reason because I said so. That's what parents said as a child, because I said so. And my brain, since I was a kid, that was never enough for me, Daniel. I was always the kid that went, but why? But why? No, mom, but why? And I will annoy the heck out of my mom because I was always asking more than a child should. But that made me very inquisitive and wanting to always, they said, no, but why? Again, give me a logical explanation because my brain right now cannot comprehend. But when you don't have that inside of you, like Daniel also spoke about, then we get used to it. So, oh, no, it's no. No, just somebody tells you in your circle, oh, just don't do it. It probably won't work. And then your brain just goes, okay, because we've learned that. So what if we were to be able to shift? And we can definitely do that. It will take work, but we can definitely do that. And this is then what success is all about. And we've had a powerful conversation, Daniel. So to end today, give us a takeaway on the topic of being successful. Even though I don't think we can sum it up in one sentence, but give us a takeaway. If somebody was just to grab this piece of the video, takeaway on the topic of being successful.
Okay, so actually, as always, Elise, a lot of things you say trigger other thoughts and new thoughts in my mind. And when you were talking just before, I was thinking how many times I've noticed that, especially intelligent people, can create a reason, can legitimize why something hasn't happened for them. You know, and especially specifically I say intelligent people, because they can explain to themselves and then to others, oh, but this then happened and this person here, and then you know what, it didn't quite work out for me there, blah, 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 blah. And if you listen to this, it's like, well, sounds fair. I heard one of the best things I've ever heard, I think, which is such an important, and this is going to be my takeaway for anyone. You have to be stronger than your excuses, because there is always an excuse why something hasn't happened, why it's not working, why that person got something and you didn't. There's always an excuse, and often a legitimate excuse. You've got to be stronger than your excuses. So if you can be stronger than your excuses, that's when you'll reach something that's a bit more significant and hopefully match a definition of success that will be yours.
Hashtag be stronger than your excuses. Daniel has given you, as you can see, everyone, more powerful insights, another great video chat. This is definitely going to need part 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, because once Daniel and I'll get talking, yeah, it go on and on and on and on. So, but I love it. Powerful, down to earth. And if it helps one person listening to this to say, oh my God, yes, hashtag do stuff, hashtag be strong, then we did it. Then if we are able to help someone do something different, then this was worth it. And if nobody listens to this video, then me and Daniel, you had fun. And that's pretty much what it's all about, enjoying ourselves, putting it out, again, putting it out there. You don't have to have 10 million views on your socials. You then, and yes, it will go on more than LinkedIn. Daniel may be on LinkedIn, but of course I will share on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, and whichever other channel accepts this chat, because I think it's awesome. But that's the point. Even if it's just one person that sees something, you've done your part, because one inspires one, and that's what I call the law of paying it forward. If you have a good message, just share it. So thank you so much, Daniel. As I always say, together we are stronger. This is Elise Quevedo. Until next time. Thanks, Daniel.